But welcome to India Energy Week, the second largest energy conference and conclave in the whole world. We are in day 3, and the topic is people development, leadership, skills, and training. Now, before we begin, I just want to say that human resource is one of the most important resource that any company has. And at a time of change and transition, it is innovation we will drive the successful company of the future. So I think this is a very important session. There are some excellent talk and subject and speakers. So without further ado, let me call upon the first speaker, Sabita Natraj, CGM from Indian Oil. And she has a very interesting talk on what is called outsourcing the innovation with all the employees, because ideas don't belong to anyone. Anyone can have a good idea for this energy transition and sustainability. So I think over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Patra. Good morning, everyone. It was our petroleum minister who remarked in the opening ceremony that energy poverty can be alleviated not just by how wealthy nations decarbonize, but by how inclusively we can transform. The presentation that I am going to be delving on today on an innovation platform, a nationwide ideation contest, mirrors the petroleum minister's words on inclusivity. It is with total inclusivity in receipt of ideas, evaluation, and submission that I am going to be taking through the impact and influence of this ideation platform. Innovation, in fact, is embedded in the core DNA of our values. Care, innovation, passion, trust are main pillars, with nation first as the topmost value. Indian Oil and all IOCians truly believe that service to the nation is what drives their passion, purpose, and progress. With this as a background, I would be delving with videos and photographs, because visuals speak better than words, as to the framework with which we had this innovation contest, which was spread nationwide. The innovation contest innovated itself in the second edition with a 3-pronged framework. The Ideosphere framework called for ideas. The theory to practice called for case studies, which were piloted and which could be implemented on a larger scale. And InnoQuest quiz was a national level quiz contest, more of a gamification of knowledge. It was functional and technical quiz that was asked. There are 16 state offices in Indian Oil, and each state office could pitch a team, and in a typical IPL format, there were 56 matches played with more than 1,500 questions asked, and this was actually a kind of a festival of ideas and a celebration of ideas propelled by the power of youth. The main factors that goes forward is it was a national level platform which had sought out breakthrough ideas for process improvements, and it had an online portal which invited the ideas, and the ideators could see the progress of the ideas at each stage. The main factor was it gave an opportunity to the ideators to present and defend their ideas to the top management, and that was a big motivator. The implementation of ideas is a key table stake for Innovest, and that is non-negotiable. And a definitive period of campaign that went through. July to September is one period that the employees could look forward to. With that kind of a framework, it has been an absolute top-driven contest or an ideation platform where the chairman, board of directors, in fact, my DHR is here today to encourage this, kind of efforts that go through. It is a change management effort, is what our top management looks at, and innovation is embedded into the culture of the organization to improve and grow. Just to highlight what Innovest is, it is an investment of Indian Oil in innovation. If we were to take a quick analysis of what makes people behavior get motivated and engaged, we can get into the input of a conceptual framework given by Ryan and Deci on self-determination theory. And this theory states that there are three pillars for people's behaviors. It is autonomy, competence, and relatedness. At a granular level, Innovest ideation platform catered to all these three pillars of motivational aspects. It gave the ideator autonomy to give as many suggestions as he desired over an online platform. It helped him to understand that he had a control over his choices and what he wanted to ideate. Competence, when each idea progressed from one stage to the other, it made him or her to realize that they are capable and effective. Continuous communication and mentoring framework that was brought into this ideation contest made employees realize that they are cared for and they belonged. And this gave rise to better motivation and engagement, resulting in enhanced well-being and performance. A quick look at what was the process that actually gave rise to the way it panned out is something which we can understand from Innovest clearly defines that the field level have the answers to organizational issues.
This program. Excellent work. Thank you.
Thanks to Innovest for innovating the motivation and bringing the young talents.
इस प्रोग्राम ने ना कि हमारा आइडिया एक प्लेटफॉर्म दिया, बल्कि हमें ये विश्वास भी दिया कि ये आइडिया सिर्फ हमारे दिल और दिमाग तक नहीं रहेगा, बल्कि फील्ड में भी जाके implement होगा.
Very good platform for the young minds to give more ideas.
Are very professional and very dynamic, and everything was well taken care of. And the best thing what I found is I was given opportunity to present my idea.
Presentation of ideas, being heard, being belonged has been the major factor for the appeal of this contest across the company. And the biggest comment that came from one of the ideator was it gave the flavor of a PhD experience, because at each stage they had to refine the idea and take it forward to the later stage, making them to understand the practical aspects in the implementation. The result is in its execution, so they were able to understand the top management needs for execution of ideas. Here we would be peeking into, just as Dr. Patra gave a suggestion, please highlight some of the implemented ideas for us to understand the impact and influence of Innovest. I would be taking you through one or two ideas that got implemented, and this is an idea on terminal automation system. Indian Oil is about receiving of products, storage and distribution of the same. Here the youngsters got into the aspect of automating a terminal storage with writing codes for almost like 1 lakh line of codes and algorithm was written. What you would be seeing is something that they wrote and implemented, and that was completely supported by the organization. This idea is also a reflection of the agility and dexterity with which top management embraces innovation in Indian Oil. Every line of the tank truck entry into the terminal, its safety security aspects, the way the product would get loaded at each bay, what product is going to get loaded at which tank, All these aspects were ideated by the youngsters. They wrote the code for it, and this is something which the management gave a complete go ahead with enough safety, security, adherence guidelines to it. It's an internal automation system that got implemented. Next is in terms of a pack truck loading automation that we can see, where here loops can be packed, but the loading automation inside a truck is something that the ideator envisioned, tendered for it, and implemented it. This idea 1494, we identify each idea with an idea code. This idea is about onboarding and reaching out LPG cylinders to the nook and corner of the country. It also gave employment opportunity to village level entrepreneurs in onboarding this idea with a process driven framework into the technology highlight of Indian Oil. So this is an app driven one. This is about reaching LPG cylinders to the furthermost rural villages with complete inventory management. Here too, the team delved into the pain points of the customers and the distributors. So these inventory management, or in terms of taking stock of every cylinder that goes out of the godown, was taken care, and it is in an app format so that rural villagers can access it. They can resort to refill booking, complete invoicing, and ensuring that the delivery takes place on time. So this was an idea that has already got implemented in several parts of the country. This idea in terms of this was a case study. This was in a theory to practice framework, where idea 1329, here the ideator has given out a portable and safe manifold for commercial cooking. Many cloud kitchens and hoteliers do not have safe cylinder management for cooking, and here he is providing a portable lightweight cooking model. So while the business and the financial impact of Innovest has been huge, it is normally said, people forget what you say, people forget what you do, but people do not forget how you make them feel. Innovest has made them to feel more engaged and belonged. So the cultural impact of Innovest has been huge, with high engagement and customer satisfaction. The reach and response of Innovest is seen in its numbers. There were 21,500 ideas received over 2 years, 5,213 total ideators, 3,562 teams were involved in it, 442 jury members, almost all of them were involved in the evaluation aspects of it at a state or a central level. 70% of ideas came from junior grades, and 56 InnoQuest live quiz matches were held. 13,000 employees engaged at all across the country. Now, if we actually look at what are the success factors of Innovest, it is very clear that Adam Grant, when he spoke about in hidden potential, every individual has the ability to achieve greatness. Talent is not inborn. If given the right structures of opportunity and motivation, every individual has the capacity to realize their potential. Innovest in its granular framework catered to this aspect of giving opportunity and motivation. So at a micro level, what are the success factors? Cross-departmental collaboration. All functions had to collaborate with each other, whether for evaluation or for taking the idea forward. Tech-enabled online framework for evaluation of ideas. Structured mentoring system for refining the ideas until its final stages. Company products and services were given away as incentives, not necessarily monetary framework. Use of gamification through the quiz contest, where technical and functional knowledge was gamified and done in the form of a quiz in an interstate format. Open, transparent, two-way communication system. Every feedback was acted upon, so there was a quick, prompt response to any complaints. Only idea code was visible till the end, so the eliminating bias in terms of evaluations. Second in command, number 2 officers were all involved as part of jury team. Ecosystem, the main table stake of Innovest ideation has been The entire ecosystem for nurturing and mentoring ideas and evaluating ideas has got developed at a larger scale. So if we actually look at what is the future roadmap, we are looking at integrating AI and automation, looking at digitalized employee-led solutions. If digitalized employee-led solutions will definitely give rise to a culture of innovation, and we are looking at expanding Innovest for cross-industry collaboration with external mentors. So innovation is not just an option, it is a smarter and more efficient Indian Oil through Innovest. And I would like to submit that Innovest in its main factors actually highlights that success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that matters. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my absolute pleasure to be here today and to speak about the topic which I'm deeply passionate about. And as an executive leadership, ICF accredited leadership coach, my job is to coach professionals to find better and more efficient ways to work, to think differently, and to, the most important, to enjoy what they're doing in a meaningful way. And thank you to the organizers for inviting me here today. Who can give me the definition of operational excellence? Any volunteers? I think if I ask 10 different people what the operational excellence is, I probably get 10 different answers. But we tend to think about operational excellence in technical terms, something which is tossed around in the boardrooms and strategy meetings. In practice, every organization has its own tapestry of streamlined processes, empowered employees, and continuous improvement. So the different view of operational excellence, and one of the CEOs mentioned to me when I asked him about that, he said, Ala, 95% of my time as CEO is spent to make sure that people talk to each other. The main drivers of operational excellence for the last 15 years were failures. When companies experienced a setback, it became aware of the gaps in its operations. Also, the technological advancement, the ability to connect, like data visualization and the ability to connect data and people, took operational excellence to the different level. The main challenge remains to find the balance between the cost of implementing excellence and potential gains, the pace of change, the change fatigue, and also overwhelmed with different AIs and technologies. Oops. Sorry. So if we look at the typical plan, it might include all or some of these items. And what do you think is missing here? And if you think like me that people are missing here, you're right. People are missing here. And people might be, I saw a lot of brilliant presentations yesterday, and they're all interactive and dynamic and brilliant plans. But people sometimes might be confused how all these plans translate into the day-to-day operations. They might have thoughts. What does it mean to be resilient? What does it mean to lead with humility? And what do I have to do? How do I know that I contribute to sustainability? Do I have to go on a training course or to understand fully the concept? People have a lot of questions. How do I develop human skills which will help me to survive in my workplace? How to ensure that people are not distracted by the buzzword, and how to ensure that they're focused on the human skills. And every organization seems to be running some transformational efforts and change. And sometimes this change is blocked because of the fundamental negative message that something we are doing now does not work. And what is often neglected, that the people's work stream is treated in a similar way, that people have to change in order to make this change with an organization, in order to survive. That is not respectful, and that is not inclusive. So our culture is our people, and it's not okay that they need to transform in order to survive in their organization. Modern managers are much better than managers 20 years ago. They are already very skillful. What they have to do, we have to create an environment which supports them, which is inclusive, which makes sure that even the quietest person in the room have an opportunity to share their ideas and to share their views, because not everyone is actually like to be in the spotlight. So the role of the leader, modern leader, is growing in complexity, and the responsibilities are growing in complexity as well. And apart from the revenue and profit responsibility, people also responsible for diversity and inclusion, mental health, well-being, and not every leader had training or wants to discuss deeper personal issues with their people. 60% of managers are unprepared to handle people-focused aspects, and that's where coaching can help. The cultural change required is still in the exploratory stage, and the full integration remains work in progress. The needs and expectations of people, they are dramatically ascending the Maslow hierarchy of needs. And what was popular 20 years ago, like simple employee satisfaction, is not sufficient anymore. And then we observed the explosion of the psychometrics tests market, each of them claiming that is the best panacea to understand others and themselves. And recently I was talking to someone, to a lawyer, who was telling me that, oh, we had a training and now we're not only lawyers, but we are cognitive athletes. And that is all good, but how does it all translate into the day collaboration within the team? And when I ask leaders what you're making sure that the human skills are not left behind, I often have a conversation or reference to the emotional intelligence. But emotional intelligence is not a skill, it's a set of skills which we can all develop as we age throughout our lives. And we probably all saw the culture, which looks like an iceberg, with the artifacts and values, which is a visible part of the iceberg. But something which is not visible, it's a basic underlying assumptions which sometimes we're making as leaders. And operational excellence is often blocked because of these incorrect assumptions. We think that clear business goals will be sufficient for the people to change. Or if people understand the arguments, they will change. Or employees don't change, it's because they don't want to. And that is not correct. 85% of tasks are completed in teams and in some sort of relationships. So leaders at various levels have to be aligned with goals, processes, and outcomes expected. Otherwise, it will lead to a very fragmented approach. Understanding each other and collective objectives, and also utilizing collective imagination, like systemic imagination for the innovation, is critical. According to the statistics, 3 hours per week is spent in a conflict. That's a lot. And 60% of managers do not have any basic training how to handle workplace conflict. But we have to go beyond purely working together and not having a conflict. We need to have a supportive environment where we thrive and flourish, where the decision will be made on the basis of not the incorrect assumptions, but on the basis of the knowledge of the people we work with. It doesn't, okay. So people change when two conditions are met. When they know how to do what's expected from them, and when they care. By creating a plan or schedule, it does not necessarily end up with a successful outcome. Innovation does not happen on schedule or on plan. People cannot think on schedule. Motivation is a very complex concept. So it is important that humans do not, to understand that humans do not do things just because they should, but they do things because they want to. Sometimes having a plan, detailed plan is good, but it's not sufficient. It's like, we all understand that it's necessary, it's healthy, but it's like a kale. So we need to find that chocolate which makes people tick. We need to combine that human value message with a business value message. It is important to understand that leadership is a relationship, and the quality of our business depends on the quality of our relationship. Every leader has to identify the stakeholders, the important stakeholders whose outcomes are impacted by the leader's behavior. And the importance of the feed forward rather than feedback is critical. The traditional feedback is focused on the past mistakes, but feed forward, it's more positive. It's focused on improvements and what can be changed as a result of the improvement. Coaching can help to answer many questions. Some of them we post in these presentations, but it can also help to address the problems which never existed before. And it also helps to help how all the answers are translated into the day-to-day work. So these are some of the modalities how coaching can help within the organization, and how coaching strategy can be developed. And we can use individual coaches for the leadership and CSU team, and also involve team coaching and stakeholder-centered coaching, which could be cascaded to the supply chain as well. So this is the statistics that 68% of time is wasted due to the lack of communication. And apparently, according to the Gartner research, the critical skills which has been identified by leaders is influence. 66% of the leaders identify that influencing stakeholders and personal communication are the critical skills which has to be taken for their development opportunities. So the positive employee experience, and it very much resonates with the previous speaker mentioned in her presentation, is the autonomy, is the following. The autonomy is our inner desire to be responsible for our life. Relatedness is to keep this human connection. Mastery is to do excellent work, meaningful work, and the purpose is how we contribute to sustainability and how we're doing meaningful work. So in the fast-paced, technology-driven world we live today, it is far too easy to lose the sight of what is truly matters. It's human connectivity and human connection. At Growth Associates, we are dedicated to bring humanity back to the workplace. In this unsolvable and unstoppable world, we all have the opportunity to keep our humans switched on, to bring our human differentiators forward, and to remain human on purpose. So we have a choice where to work, where we spend our money, and where we focus our attention. And we can all align with a global growing force to help human species and to our human planet. And thank you for your attention.
The third speaker is Ankesh Nagar.
Thank you, Dr. Pada. Very good morning, everyone. Glad to have you all here. And I'll use this next 15 minutes to walk you through one of the sharpest approaches to set up and get a data-driven workforce running in any organization. However, particularly the case that I'm going to run you through and make it real is one from an oil and gas organization. And through that, I will also explain you why does it really matter. So I think it's a no-brainer, but we all understand that for any transformation, people are the engine. But when it comes to digital transformation, it is absolutely essential that the same people are also skilled in digital. And today the world is seeing glaring gaps in terms of where the people should be in terms of their skills from a digital standpoint and where they are today. And that is reflecting in all kinds of surveys and numbers. And I know there are some very worrisome numbers that you're seeing, but I would like your attention on two key statistics here. They are on the far right. The first one being for any digital transformation, and this is for a survey of about 200 odd companies from the top 500 Fortune 500 firms. They have recognized that they are significantly delayed in their digital transformation journey by more than 15 months at an average, which is huge compared to where they want to be. And second, and most interestingly, 73% of these firms do realize that they need a targeted upskilling program. However, what would be the best approach to make it work in the right kind of, with the right kind of investment in time is what I would like to walk you through today. When we take the same view from an oil and gas perspective, I think we all today realize that the industry is towards utilizing data science and AI to scratch the bottom of the barrel, essentially maximize the realization, whether in terms of value or resources. And particularly in the context where the era of easy oil is over, and the focus is more towards driving efficiencies, AI is certainly capable of impacting some of these key business levers. So as I said, I'll walk you through one of these cases. The organization in context here was also an oil and gas producer, realizing the fact that to gallop ahead of the competition, it will need to leverage digital, but also empower digital internally. So some of the key observations that they came across were that the work centers associated within the organization were not really digital sponsors. They were seeing roles which were not very sharp in terms of articulating what digital can do, and therefore were dependent on third party to really bring things to life, even if they were simplistic in nature. And hence, the objective was to move towards creating an analytics center of excellence which would house the right talent within the firm which would be capable to build some of the digital initiatives, use cases to solve those problems in-house and bring that brains of change within the organization itself. In this particular context, the first level of filter that we had a nominated list of about 87 odd people who were cutting across all key domains from exploration, production, drilling, IT, HR, finance. So there were 6 odd verticals, and they were majorly focused towards the junior and mid segments, as there is a need to bring in a lot of fresh blood. To do a campaign and create a program which is customized, we need to get 4 things right for any upskilling program. First is to find the right set of skills and the ideal roles which would be required to come into any analytics center. Second is to have the right set of people mapped to that talent which is required in terms of the skill and the people that you have today in your organization. Define and craft a journey which is customized in terms of giving a common starting point for people who are at varied levels of their skills. And lastly, create an experience which is desirable, which is differentiated by the for the people of the organization, which is a combination of personalized learning as well as experiential. Typically, organizations believe that this entire road map to get this in place is months, and when I say months, is 6+ or so. But if you have a well crafted journey, and what we use and what we are terming it here is the skills.ai led accelerated program, such a program which leverages on data science and AI itself in terms of methodology can really shrink it down to at max is 3 months. So in 12 weeks, we were able to complete this 4-step journey, which I just talked about, where the first 4 weeks were focused on finding the right ideal roles and skills, and then mapping the right people, and then moving towards crafting their learning curriculums as well as their learning content. So the first step was to find what roles do we need to have under this umbrella of the ACOE, right? So like I said, skill.ai is a methodology that is based on a skill bank which has market intelligence, which has its own algorithms built for correlating skills and talent. We use this first to benchmark what are the industry roles out there with firms which are similar to that of the organization in context, like Shell, Exxon, etc. We found what are the roles in demand across these key set of industry benchmarks, and then rationalize them to align with 6 key roles which are absolutely essential to house inside this ACOE to be able to build any use case or digital initiative from scratch and bring it to life. And since we had this entire data bank with us, we were able to create what we call an ideal role profile. That is, what are the skills required in an ideal set for each of these 6 roles. So now that we knew that we require a matrix, which is on your right, that across these 6 verticals, these are the 6 kind of roles that should house. The objective was to now map who would be the people with the right, what kind of skills, who should go and map into this matrix, and because that's the answer. And that's where we utilize a 3-step framework, which is first, figure out the skill baseline for each of the individuals, assess them to arrive at what is the ideal role fitment score that they can suffice, and then finally map the role to talent mapping. I will not get into the details of this. However, there were 3 essential aspects that were taken up. This was a survey-led assessment which looked at technical, functional and behavioral skill assessment for all these 87 odd profiles. Finally, we were able to score them in terms of their own proficiencies against each of these 74 skills which were ideal, and we knew whether for each skill they are at a beginner level or at an intermediate or at an expert level. As a result, we had the skill profile for all the 67 people who decided to participate in the survey. We also utilized what we call a patented framework that we built, which is a skill ontology framework, which helps you assess some of the indirect skills. Most of the skills are direct, but let's say if I ask you, which language, programming language do you know? And you say it's Python. But let's say we are asking also for R or some of the other languages. Your responses can use this, this framework can use your varied responses to give you some of the indirect scores as well. And eventually we were able to arrive at a employee level fitment score, which essentially looked to create, when you sort of map it, it gives you the entire spider chart to know what is the delta or what is the skill gap across each of the key skills of an employee. And on your right, what you see is for these 6 roles, the tool allows you to, the methodology allows you to see which are the top 6 or top 3 roles which they would be the most preferred for. And accordingly, we then map some of the organizational internal requirements and matrices, such as we first created a skill threshold score, then moved to assessing for certain roles, particularly of domain. So for example, if I need to appoint a domain governance lead for drilling, it certainly needs to be somebody who understands drilling in and out. And therefore it also means that it needs to have certain people with certain seniority. So these inside views and factors was also considered to finally arrive at the answer. The answer was that these are the 6 verticals, these are the different roles, and here are those number of people who will play that role as and when this ACOE continues. Like I said, our learning pillars are based on 3 things. That once we know the gaps and once we know who are the which people will play what role, it was now important to start their learning journeys. To make sure it is very comprehensive, there were 3 aspects that were included. First was to make sure that to have self-paced learning, we collaborated and brought on board some of the learning partners who were online and curated each of these learning journeys for each of the 6 roles. The second was to have expert-led trainings by sessions run by experts on cloud, on some big data analytics, some of the fundamental blocks that allows the people to learn what are the fundamental blocks and how to use them in the coming future towards their business. And third was an action learning project. It's a real life scenario with real data which was handed over to this group to work through each of their roles that they will serve and bring the project to life. To give you a glimpse, this is one of the learning journeys for a machine learning engineer who has been given that role. The person, depending on where they are in terms of their skill foundation, you see on the left there is one camp on the foundational learning, there is another on the intermediate learning sets. These courses have been curated such that if you are somebody who already knows about ML, can move towards being an expert, and if you are somebody who knows zilch about ML, then you can start from the very scratch. And the entire journey is also planned in terms of ensuring that the hours dedicated, required, are not such that you sort of discontinue your daily nature of work. Here is an example how all 3 of them were sort of blended together. As you can see, there is a major focus initially to start with the online learning aspects, complemented by the ELT, which is the expert learning sessions. So in the middle, the employees get to see what the experts are also talking about. It makes it more personalized, and then eventually we get into the action learning projects where they start dealing and building solutions from scratch, and again get them vetted by our experts. These are some snapshots of some of the learning in action. So people were working on real data. Some of them who were on BI were creating some of complex visualizations, as you can see, some of the heat maps, so on and so forth. So very interactive, personalized based learning that allowed people to experience and start believing in self-reliance. And that's where I want to spend maybe the last minute on is, at the end of the day, why does it matter? It matters because it improves your confidence in terms of not just knowing the landscape, but becoming more self-reliant. For small, simple use cases, you do not have to move out towards third parties and build it in-house. And secondly is overcoming long-term complexities. When I say long-term complexities, it essentially means, given that how quickly digital is transforming in terms of its nature and capabilities, now that people will have the understanding of the foundational blocks, they will be able to articulate the complex requirements much clearly to the market as well, and therefore be able to drive change at a much faster pace. And hence, what is reflecting today for the organization as a win is firstly the quick wins. There were some laggard initiatives, some initiatives which can be quickly built upon based on the foundation that you have today. They have been taken up and have a roadmap for the next 6 months, where some of the quick wins have been taken up and implemented as I speak. And second, which are focused on the long-term priorities, they are now thinking out of the box. They are thinking about, for example, taking entire field development planning and leveraging Gen AI to do it. It's a fairly complex initiative. But given now that they understand the founding blocks, they are able to articulate it much more sharply and even leverage the market capabilities that are there to bring this to life. With that, I will end. Thank you so much and look forward to your questions later. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Fipi, and thank you, everyone here for being here. The topic that I chose to write about was a workforce development imperative in the view of the energy transition. We are currently the most populous nation on earth, 140 crore people, 1.4 billion people, and we have, huge urbanization that is coming in, and we have climate commitments, emission reduction plans, and energy security pressures. So there is a transition that is happening, and the transition is not an option for us but an imperative for us, and renewable energy lies in the heart of this transition. The government has taken quite a ambitious target of adding 24 gigawatts of energy, solar and wind energy year on year basis, so the government has taken ambitious energy targets of adding, first of all, adding the larger energy targets and adding 24 gigawatts of energy year on year basis. And there are also commitments, issues with grid modernization and green hydrogen that are happening. So there is a urgency around it. When we look at the renewable energy job structure that has happened in the recent 10 years, in 2023 we had 1.02 million jobs in India. Globally there were around 16 million jobs. By 2027 there will be another 1.27 million jobs that will be created, totaling to around 3.3 million jobs in the renewable sector. And by 2050 we will have 8.5 million jobs that will be required in the renewable sector. So we will be needing engineers, we will be needing semi-skilled workers, skilled workers, and administrative experts around this entire domain of energy. And we will need people across these domains to design, commission, install, maintain, and operate advanced technologies in the renewable space. When we look at the current landscape of energy in India, 85% of the energy is coming from fossil fuels, largely coming from coal, oil, and natural gas. India has substantial amount of coal, and it is the cheapest energy source for India right now. But we are still importing a lot of coal because the production improvements are, burdened with environmental and logistical issues. So we are also in future going to see imports in the coal sector. But its contribution to overall electric generation is going to reduce from currently around 73% to roughly 30% by the year 2047. We are all in the oil and natural gas sector, so we know that currently India is importing roughly 88% of the needs, and in the near future the imports are going to even get higher and higher. So when we look at that scenario, we are going to look at a stage where there will be a production decline and there will be squeezed margins, and in that sense there will still be a lot of import. So the economy will still be driven by the oil sector, but the larger base of the economy will move around refining this. rather than extracting the fossil fuel from this sector. Natural gas plays around 6% of role in the energy mix. It is a transitional fuel, and we are going to see 3 times more utilization of natural gas by the year 2047 because of our industrial expansion as well as its greater role in the economy. So the point that I want to make here is that by the year 2047, our energy demand is going to be around 2.5 times our current demand, but our overall supply is from the fossil fuel sector is internally is going to be greatly reduced, but we will still be operating in the import zone. So and subsequently most of the other substitute that will come in from the renewable sector. So it will be a dual trajectory. We will still be in the fossil fuel sector, and it will also operate on the renewable energy. So in that sense, there will be a gradual and natural decline in the upstream jobs, which will modestly be compensated by the refining sector, but it will be greatly compensated by the renewable energy jobs, and this is a good news for us. When we look at the progress that we have made in the renewable energy, in the last 2 months that I was writing this article itself, there was around 13 gigawatts of addition in its in the total installed capacity. So it is growing up fast, and it is growing up very, very quick, substantially in that scale. Our targets is 500 gigawatts from renewable, and currently we are at around 209. This was a little backdated table that I had created. Some of the important government initiatives are also brought out here. I have also studied the larger landscape of where the renewable energy might come in from. So when we look at India's map, this is just a study that I did on my own. We see that largely our solar sector is based out, like there's a lot of potential around Rajasthan, Jammu Kashmir, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh. When we look at wind, again we see that there is a large scope in Rajasthan and in the Maharashtra region and Karnataka region. While other regions have scope, but I have only considered the larger scope of the potential. So in this view, we also see that most of the areas that have this potential are remote areas. And when we look at the development of the sector, we also need to see the sectoral challenges that will come along with the development of the renewable sector. That is the intermittencies and the variabilities that come along with renewable energy. The grid infrastructure right now in India is developed for the traditional fuels. There is a storage solution issue. We have land acquisition issues with competing interests. There will be a demand side management issue that will also be coming in. There will be technological framework gaps that are already emerging, and I read a lot of CEO interviews where they said that better policy framework needs to be there from the government side itself. The sector is seeing a lot of technology advancement at a breakneck speed, and there will be issues around the circular economy which we are not even considering at this moment, and there is a large policy uncertainty around the sector. So this is the larger scene of the business. When we look at the skill shortage in the sector, currently we see that total jobs in the sector is at around 8.5 million, and we are going to see a large increase in the renewable sector as we move towards 2030, and the reduction in the upstream sector as we move in next 2 decades. So I also studied what are the skill gaps in the renewable sector. When we look at the foundational expertise and the enabler expertise. So when we look at solar energy, wind energy, bioenergy, ocean energy and green hydrogen, all these energy domains, the foundational science has been studied for decades. We know the foundational science. It is only the tech that we as a nation are struggling with, because we were not there first to develop it, and as a result we are now facing a gap. we face issues with nanotechnology, we face issues with semiconductors. The computational fluid dynamic is an emerging area of development for us. Geothermal energy is something that we will not face much of an issue because we have advanced skills in the upstream petroleum around that. Ocean energy should not also be a big issue for us once we have the tech ready, because we have support from the upstream sector and the hydro sector in that. Green hydrogen is something that we will have a little bit of a teething issue with, but I think we'll be there in that also. So these are areas where academic institutions within India need to have more focus in the MTech zone or the PhD zone, so that we have our basic tech outlay ready. Largely when we see, we need people around interdisciplinary engineering skills, which is the case that I am making, that upstream sector has all these people with all these interdisciplinary engineering skills and project management skills with extensive organizational experience. So we just need to upskill them and reskill them for this zone, giving them the essential domain view. These are few of the roles that will that are coming in the sector in the various renewable domains. Interestingly, there will be also analytics and data and AI and ML that is being needed at this stage itself, because we are parallelly working on grid modernization also. So we will need energy analysts also and data analysts also. So we need to develop a comprehensive ecosystem around this job market. When we look at the efforts of workforce development within the renewable energy sector, I'm very happy to actually say that there were comprehensive HRD efforts from the government itself since the year 1999. And there have been, short-term training programs, fellowships, infrastructure around education for renewable energy in development since last 2 decades. There are specialized skill programs such as Surya Mitra, Varun Mitra, Vayu Mitra and Jal Urja Mitra that has given the current technical outlay to the domain. And a lot of IITs have good MTech and PhD programs around this scheme also. And government has done quite a lot, but the scale of implementation is so large that all these efforts suddenly become too small and too insignificant when we look at the larger outlay. So what is the case for workforce transition here? The core strengths of oil and gas sector are easily transferable to a lot of other sectors, including renewables. So there is a easy case of transitioning your workforce to this sector. The skills are highly transferable, and the kind of people that we have, they are like, for example, ONGC, IOCL, BPCL and all these companies have the top talent from the country. So these are people that can be very easily switched on a gradual basis. The oil and natural gas sector within India also is very cash rich and has a lot of technical expertise otherwise in project management. So these skills will also come very handy when we look at the overall renewable sector. So there is an urgent action needed from not only the government but also from the companies in this regard. So what are the skills and challenges and opportunities here? There will be a digital skill demand that is already coming across quite sharply in the renewable sector. The fossil to renewable transition reskilling models are very easily available in Germany, Norway and all these Nordic countries that have switched almost completely to the renewable energy. We need curriculum modernization, not only curriculum modernization but also trainer and infrastructure gaps are required, because this sector has suddenly come up while we don't have experienced trainers and infrastructure to align to this. So we need a massive input from government regarding this. We need to ensure that there is regional inclusion, otherwise again you will have people from here and there to move to Rajasthan and all these places to handle these jobs, while the locals will again suffer. there will be circular economy focus because we are still not looking at the end-to-end life material management of this sector, and the sector faces political stability policy stability issues also. So what are few of the strategic approaches to bridging the skill gap? One of the standout approach that I could think of was that what ONGC did back then in 1960s is that ONGC took help from Russia. So we also can now as a industry look at cross-country collaborations with Nordic countries to largely focus on upskilling and reskilling through exchange programs, through mentorships, and industry exchange programs within the sector with renewable as well as with companies in the Nordic countries. Apart from that, we need to massively align and integrate the current curriculum with the industry needs. When we look at the ITI syllabus, only 3 new trades have been added. So, and we need to incentivize reskilling and CSR driven training. So what I wanted to say is that while sustainability and economic growth don't look to gel together, this is the only imperative we have, that we need to ultimately look at both the things together, and this is a good case for workforce transformation. Thank you.
Thank you to all, and good morning CVO sir from HPC, Deputy CVO, and good morning to all Indus luminaries. Basically, whatever she ended, we wanted to start from there, and I would like to mention worth that oil and gas industry is on crossboards. Why it is on crossboards? From shale oil to whale oil, or whale oil to shale oil. We have seen all those phases of our life as the oil and gas industry. Are we ready for the transition? I guess I said it is very difficult to say on this crossboards. So basically, over the period of time, we have seen that there is a huge green transition happening, and we are doing. Recently, we have touched 100 gigawatt of energy in India, but it is suffice that the person who has joined any company, now they are verge on retirement. What about those transition, LNG, CNG, CBG, solar? It's very difficult. These trends are clearly mentioned whether the oil and gas technocrats are ready for energy transition. If you see the investment in terms of net zero net emissions, there is a huge investment. But are our people ready to take those investment in a right direction? Are the oil and gas who are selling the petrol, diesel, LPG, lubes, last 30 odd years, are they ready for CBG, CNG, all those new renewables, hydrogen? It is very difficult to say at this juncture. Entire oil and gas spectrum is changed right now. See, with respect to clean energy, with respect to electrical vehicles, with respect to renewables and carbon capture, it is very difficult that these many trillions of dollars of money which is going to invest coming years, by 2047, are we ready for it? So this is a right case study which we have developed, though India is not far behind. India also developed those things, but it is a very slow space. The thing is that if you wanted a driver for energy transition, we need a energy security, we need a sustainability, we need a access and affordability, the most important part. While researching the entire aspect, we found one important thing, the Panch Mitra, which our Honorable Prime Minister also mentioned over here. The point is that the government has also done so many things, and by 2047 we are doing so many things. But the important is, what about the skill gap, green skill gap? It is the most important. How we match 7 million odd people for the solar, for the hydrogen, for the clean energy? It is very difficult to match with such speed. If you see the picture, it's a data shows that what are the touch points we need to hamper upon, which needs to hammer upon. So businesses in terms of China and India, if you see, there's a huge gap for India as well as these two economies where the manpower is not available, and the right skilled manpower which will give the edge over others. Why? Because we never ever focus on reskilling and redevelopment of our people. This is a very interesting data points. If we focus on this chart, we'll found the search term, the upskilling and reskilling, energy transition, agile force. We searched last 5 years, and you know the percentage of reskilling and upskilling? It's 0 for India. We thought about energy transition, we thought about all those hydrogen, gray hydrogen, green hydrogen, CBG, but what about reskilling of manpower? What about upskilling of manpower? It is very much important how we cater and lead our people for the future generation in terms of energy. And why it is important? This is a right business case, because it is not about only energy transition and oil and gas industry, it is about across the spectrum. There are list of jobs which is going to come down the line if we are ready to cater it, our people are ready to handle it. Be it ecotourism, this is one of the job. Solid waste management, this is one of the job. Are our people is ready for taking those things? Hydrogen, are our people is ready to those jobs? CBG, are our LNG, are our people is ready? It is very difficult to know. Now, if you see the green jobs, where they are coming only 2 subcontinents, China and India. The point I am making over here is that these are the 2 biggest workforce. Our management, the organization, the country should take a collective effort to those things. But at the same time, to meet the energy demand, some of the power plants is going to close. Some of the things, coal mines going to close. What about those people? We have to think about those people also. That people, community and business has to do hand in hand, so that stress level of the society also to be minimized. It is like we are in a double-edged sword. We have to train our people, at the same time we have to take our people in terms of those stress factor. And at the same time, the agile workforce. The significant portion of our workforce are going to be retired, right? And there's a loss of institutional knowledge. At the same time, competition from startup and tech industry, which are taking over the manpower, most of the manpower I would say, and limited among younger generation. They don't want to come on the field in terms of plant those things, right? At the same time, skill gaps. If you see the right side of the graph, it itself shows that what are the need of upskilling and reskilling required to maintain our future workforce. The most important, reskilling, reduce cost, layoffs, rehiring and onboarding. So what are the planned steps we wanted to propose here is that if we wanted to take exponential growth, we have to work upon limited time with respect to structured approach. Some of the aspirations, what are the enablers and what are the things we need to do. In terms of organizational design, we have to think upon what are the things we need to do at an organizational level, at a management level. And at the same time, we have to see if we wanted to work on energy efficiency, if we wanted to work on energy transition, if we wanted to work on net zero, we have to train our people. We have to think in those lines that people has to be trained to meet those guidelines. So strategy, coming to strategy framework, we have to see that what are the things we need to do at strategy, technology, empowerment, people, and structure across 5 verticals. As rightly mentioned by my co-panelists, that yeah, government is doing a lot of things, but it is not suffice down the line. We have to work upon those things which is very much important, grassroots level, along with the government, along with the corporations, along with the organizations. And why it is important? Because net zero, culture, and if you see the numbers, 35 million, it's a huge number for the industry, for the India, where the job is scarcity. If we not train our people, it is very difficult to maintain those things without any. Key renewable and energy sector thoughts and strengths. What about those things where the abundant RE's potential is available? What are the things we need to do in terms of grid infrastructure, in terms of rich experience which is drained out of the organization? Coming to the T part, the technology, we have to focus upon those data analytics. We will discuss subsequently those analytics of the how to bridge the gap of the talent gap to meet those things which is other than the required the engineering things, what we learned so far. The automation, the robotics, the gig workers we have to onboard to see that these are the things to be visible across the organization. And future job is still what we have discussed, biofuels, one of the job. We have traveled from so far 2.3% ethanol blending to 20% ethanol blending. Where is the knowledge? How to do those things? Where is the biofuel production? Are our people ready for the handle those production plants also? So coming to this, the opportunities available across the board. Only we have to grasp it. Only we have to cater those things which is very much required. Coming to enabling superior execution in terms of that process re-engineering and knowledge pool we have to create. We have to create optimal decision making to hand over the entire manpower in such a fashion that manpower is being handled to take the energy transition forward. So there is blue collar job, white collar job. We have to think about across the board. Across the board. Why it is so? For contractual manpower, for frontline officers and for the leadership, we have to see that something has to be done across the board, across the pyramid, where the entire manpower is on board to take this India to the path of 2047 to the net zero. So for the curriculum part, structural contractual manpower, we have to design those curriculum. For the leadership learning part, we have to prepare for those workers, so that we should know where they are and where they wanted to be. Learning part is very much helpful for across the board. We have to also think about business sources for mid-level management and leadership also. It is very much important to create an employee and employer pool where the industry tented. Very much important in terms of industry, the synergy among the teams within the organization. We have to see these are the things which are inherent, which is hygiene to the organization. So we have to work on those things. I wanted to take you one important part, which is the recommendation part, where the semi-skilled, moderately skilled and highly skilled, we have to create those things which will give us the pool of the officers, pool of the manpower to deal with energy transition. Upskill and reskill. The most important thing for the future outlook. Training on carbon neutral process, partnership with upskill existing workforce to reskill them, partnership with educational institutes, though they are there, but it does not suffice. What are the things? We have to move from reactive needs to predictive model, where we should know that what are the historical patterns of success to the qualitative approach. Why it is important? Because we have to enterprise-wise take a partnership across the board. We have to create a learning mindset where the people has to understand the performance-based curated content, because these people are different ball game, right? All the people they wanted a demand of the knowledge at any time. It is very much important that learning in terms of digital platform to be available. Expand the entire learning horizon. The most important thing. Reskill the strategic initiative in terms of change management. It is again one most important thing. Whether the people are ready to change, and mainstream industry would have to create a. In this case, I wanted to mention over here in terms of gender, where the women manpower in terms of across the board, they are ready to take those things which are coming down the line. At the end, we have to see inclusion of energy transition subject at university and college level, from the school to university, which is not there right now. Vocational training institutes, knowledge and research centers, academia and fellowship, chairs at different IITs and IIMs in terms of energy transition. Awareness across the region, across the nation about the energy transition landscape. In terms of government, we have to see it is not a one-man job. It is across the team. We have to see that pact of skills where the government, industry and education institutes are there for the betterment of the society in terms of energy. We have to see the policy makers, taught to policy makers. We have to see the industry where the employee associations work on this. And it's basically I would say, triple helix approach where all the society has to work together for the betterment and the development of the manpower. So what we are calling for? It is a brown collar job, green collar or white collar, no more. It is the only green thaler job where the green is the new thaler and we have to rush for it. Why? Because we have to leverage the data. And on this platform, I would like to get a clarion call where the industry has to pull together for a national alliance of a manpower where we have to build a pool of manpower in terms of guidelines, in terms of trades, in terms of across the board what are the things to be there, where we can create a pool and entire manpower has to be pulled in those things. We have to see the green jobs where the shadowing of green sabbaticals. These are the things which industry needs to be done down the line, which is very much important for the seamless energy transition. We have to see that how to upskill and reskill those things which are there, which are young manpower, which are there in terms of redesign the job itself to take us forward. With this, I would like to say thank you to all the audience. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I think we had 5 excellent talk. It was all on human resource development. Because of energy transition, past will not be the same as the future. So we will have to create adequate, appropriate workforce with upskilling, reskilling, and other human resource development. Thank you very much.